Hey there, welcome back to another video. This time around, it is my review of the 1991 action film Out for Justice. Now, Out for Justice, to me personally, is my favorite Steven Seagal film, and it's my pick for his best. This is Seagal at his finest and at his most badass, if you ask me. I mean, there's a scene where he blows a guy's leg off with a shotgun. And it's a film that, in all honesty, I could watch again and again and never get tired of. It's just such a fun action movie that's bloody, that's full of everything that you want out of an action movie, and then some. Okay, you got the visceral edge, you got the action sequences, you got a really cool lead in Steven Seagal as Gino, you got a great bad guy in Richie, played by William Forsythe, and you have a solid supporting cast, and you have a compelling enough plot line that, despite it being fairly simple, there's still a few twists that actually are a little surprising. So yeah, I honestly love Out for Justice. Now, Out for Justice is directed by John Flynn. And John Flynn, prior to this, he directed films like Lockup, Rolling Thunder, Bestseller, and he had already showcased himself as, in my opinion, one of the better directors of his time. Definitely one of the more overlooked directors. You know, a guy who's very capable, who can direct all different types of genres of film and do them equally well. He can direct a Steven Seagal beat 'em up like Out for Justice, but he can also direct a horror film like Brain Scan, which he did after this film. So John Flynn, to me, he's a very undervalued director, and this is another instance that genuinely proves that to me. I felt he did a great job directing this movie. When it comes to his framing, the shot selection, the usage of camera angles, there's not a ton of that kind of stuff, but there's enough that it definitely has a cinematic look to it. This does not look like a TV movie. This looks like a film that was intended to be seen in a theater. And his way of showcasing and really um, embellishing and emphasizing Seagal's own intensity and the intensity of his co-star and William Forsythe is excellent. And he was one of the best directors to really show Seagal as one of the biggest badasses on the planet when it comes to the action scenes. When it comes to the scenes when Gino is coming in and he's kicking ass, he's busting faces, breaking bones. There are very few other directors who have really made Seagal look just like this titan, this just uh, unbelievable presence when it comes to him as an action star. And it's one of those things too where he made him look great even though he hated working with him. Like that's a sign of a great director to me, and some really good direction that you're able to rise above uh a lot of that, because there was a lot of issues between the director and Seagal when it comes to this production. Apparently, Flynn hated working with him because Seagal was very unprofessional. He would show up late constantly. He would just be a pain in the ass. But Flynn never allowed that to affect his directing. He still kept powering through it, and as a result, he turned in one of his finest efforts as a director. I genuinely feel that way. It's not just the fight scenes that are well shot; it's also the scenes where Seagal is just in a room, and his character Gino is reminiscing and having an emotional, vulnerable moment where he's talking with his ex, and he's talking about his past and the way that that scene was shot, the way that it was framed. It did a great job really making Seagal look like a competent dramatic actor. And then not only that, Flynn did a really good job with the car chases. There's a great car chase in the middle of this movie between Richie and Gino, where Gino sees Richie and they start chasing after each other, and Gino gets under a bridge and he's going over all these things on the bottom of the bridge and going up and down and flying in the air, and it's a really exciting, thrilling car chase to watch. And there's just a lot of moments in this action wise that are genuinely awesome. And a big part of that is due to how John Flynn shoots these scenes. The fight scenes are all shot in wide shots where you get to see Seagal's moves, you get to see the impact, you get to see the punches, you get to see everything. It's not super tight up close. There's not a lot of quick cuts. There's not a lot of things hiding his inability to quickly, punch, pummel the bad guys. It's shot in a way that really makes you feel like you're in the middle of the fight, and it makes you feel like you can actually feel the impact yourself. And it just makes those sequences all the more powerful. And it's just a really well done, well polished, well oiled bit of direction by John Flynn. In a lot of ways, I kind of liken it to a very effective, efficient shotgun blast. It's on point, it's right on target. Now, the screenplay by R. Lance Hill as David Lee Henry and Steven Seagal, uncredited, because apparently Seagal did a lot of rewrites for this script, I think is also really good for what it is. It's a simple revenge film, really. What it is, it's a movie where a cop loses his partner. His partner gets gunned down in broad daylight in cold blood by this psycho and Richie Maldonado. And the rest of the film is just Gino using his skills, using his contacts, using his connections to find this guy and kill him. That's basically the plot of Out for Justice. There's a little bit going on with some twists in the plot involving his partner, Bobby. You know, yeah, Bobby Lupo, and how he's not necessarily what he seems, and that he might have been dirty and he was cheating on his wife. But other than that stuff, there's really not a lot going on in terms of trying to throw any twists at you or trying to provide any sort of surprises. But I think that works in this film's favor. Like, you have some little bits here and there that are also added in there for comic relief, or moments like the bit where Gino finds his dog that was thrown out of a car by this asshole, and then he adopts the dog, and then he winds up riding into the jerk later on in the movie, and then kicks him in the balls. So there are some moments like that when it comes to the plot, but a lot of the focus is just primarily on one man with a shotgun and an unmarked car going on a one-man rampage trying to stop Richie from not only killing him and killing more people that he cares about, but from also killing more people, because Richie is just so far off the deep end. He's not only shooting cops in broad daylight, he's shooting random people in the head, and that, like, the guy is just completely off his rocker. And so now you have this psycho who's drugged out and has his own crew, and he's on the loose. And now you have this cop who, he grew up in the neighborhood. He grew up in an area where there was a lot of mob influence and knows some mob guys. And so, the mob is trying to get to Richie, and Gino is trying to get to Richie as well. And the mob's trying to get to him first so they can dole out their own bit of justice. and Gino is trying to get to him so he can provide his own brand of justice. And so that's really what happens with Out for Justice. Like, it's not a very complicated script or a complicated plot. Apparently, the original cut of the film, though, had more scenes, extended sequences, more scenes with a Richie, some other moments here and there, which is why there's this montage at one point in the movie, because there was a lot of stuff that was cut out by the studio because they wanted a tighter film so it could play in more theaters and make more money. And I would like to see more stuff with Richie because he's just such a great villain, and uh, uh, it's so fun to watch Forsythe play this guy. He's a piece of shit, but he's the kind of bad guy that you love to hate. And seeing more of him would be a positive for this movie. But I can understand the mindset by the studio in terms of trimming some stuff out and tightening up the pace. But I mean, as a pure action film, Out for Justice delivers and then some. I mean, you have not only great hand to hand fisticuffs, uh, fighting sequences, scenes that really showcase Seagal's Aikido skills, taking on a whole bar full of guys, kicking ass and taking names. You also have a good car chase, and you have, in my opinion, honestly, the best final fight in a Seagal movie between Gino and Richie, next to the fight with Screwface and Mark for Death, where it's in a lot of ways it's another squash match, as most Seagal fights are, but there's just so much about it that just is so satisfying and so badass, and the build up to it, and just how much of a just vicious, vile scumbag and prick Richie was. And then you had the whole connection between Bobby and Gino. Bobby was Gino's partner, and then he just finds Richie and just wrecks him in just the most satisfying way possible, throwing him around like a rag doll, smashing his head into the counter, hitting him over the head with a rolling pin. Yeah, it's just doing that punch move, which I fucking love when Gino just squares up and just goes boom, 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 and just punches him like 4 times in the face, and then just continues to throw him around and breaks his limbs, and then Richie grabs a corkscrew, tries to use it on Gino. Gino disarms him, takes the corkscrew out, and just stabs it right into his fucking head. Like, that is just such a crowd pleasing final fight between Gino and Richie. And it's such a crowd pleaser because of how great of a job the script does in terms of establishing Richie as like a very formidable foe, as somebody who you want to see get his ass kicked. And there were also some less than bombastic, less than a vicious kind of moments, some smaller moments between Gino and his kid or Gino and his ex that I also like. And there's just so much that I genuinely love about this script. It's simple, but very effective, very efficient. And it also has some good quotes too. Like, I love this bit between Gino and Vinny, who is Richie's younger brother, at Vinny's bar, where Gino's like, "Come over here, Vinny. Listen, you shouldn't talk to me that way. You know why? Because, like, you and I, we don't know each other so good. You were still sucking your thumb when your brother was around town sucking dicks. But just the same, you shouldn't talk so tough, all right? If my brother was here, you wouldn't talk shit like that. Yeah? But he's not here. And you know why he's not here? Why? Because he's a chicken shit fucking pussy asshole." Or the whole bits where he's just going around, Gino's just going around asking about Richie. "Anybody seen Richie? Anybody know why Richie did Bobby Lupo? Anybody seen Richie? I'm gonna keep coming back until somebody remembers seeing Richie. And Richie had some good moments too, like the whole bit with him and Gino, like before they first start fighting. You know, where Richie's like, "What are you gonna do, huh? What are you gonna do? You gonna arrest me, huh? You gonna arrest me? I'm out of bullets." That's a shame because those bullets could have saved you a lot of pain. I like pain, you know. He's just such a psycho, and the script does a good job with these lines of dialogue to just make him into such a significant a force and just an unpredictable psychopath. I mean, there's a line later on where this one guy named Vermeer he gets confronted by Richie. He's like, "How you doing, Vermeer? Richie, how the hell did you get up here, man? Jesus Christ!" Nah, he didn't have nothing to do with it. And there's just so much about this overall film and this story that I like, and just some really great moments that, in my opinion, are genuinely iconic. The bar scene, the bar brawl with the cue ball, and just Seagal just going to work, just wrecking everybody, throwing this one guy repeatedly into this phone booth is just something that I could watch countless times and just have a giant smile on my face. And apparently that's Seagal's favorite action scene that he's ever done in any of his movies. And you could definitely see why. So, and there's just the action in this is just so badass and so cool. Like the final uh action sequence where Gino finds out where Richie is hiding out, and then he's got the shotgun and he's just blowing people away with the shotgun. Blows this guy's leg off with the shotgun. And it's all done with practical effects, and you see the guy's leg just get disintegrated, and then the guy's just screaming, "My fucking leg! Ah!" Yeah, it's just, and then he just goes on and continues with just blowing people away and then knocking people out with his fists. And you see that also in like the butcher shop scene, which is also great, where he's knocking guys out and winds up taking a butcher knife and stabs this one guy in the hand. Like, this is Seagal at his most brutal, at his most vicious, and honestly, you could argue at his most entertaining in a lot of ways when it comes to one of his films, because it's just such a fast-paced uh, story and overall film. Like, it doesn't really let up. Like, it doesn't have a moment where it slows down and it gets too boring, or it feels like the plot is stuck in quicksand. Like, it's always got this really good momentum about it. And I think that's something that's easier said than done sometimes. So, yeah, I think it's a really great script. If Seagal was responsible for a lot of the writing and didn't get credit for it, I got to give him credit for it here. Um, his rewrites worked. They made the film better, not worse. And speaking of Seagal, let's start talking about the cast, which I also think is a good cast. You've got Steven Seagal, who plays Gino, and it's honestly one of my favorite roles from him. Yeah, the Brooklyn accent is not always the best, but it's fine. It works enough for me. And you could just tell that Seagal was having a fun time playing this character. Yeah, apparently he didn't really get along with the director. Didn't seem to affect his performance that much because he's still giving it his all here. He's giving a shit that he's providing a very energetic performance. Uh, it's really a lot of fun to watch Seagal in this because he's got that whole attitude going on that he had in like Above the Law and his earlier films, and he's just as capable when it comes to the action, when it comes to the sequences, when he's got to use his fists. And there's just a lot about this performance that I really, really enjoy. I love him breaking balls and busting balls with cue balls. I love a lot of moments in this movie. I love that there's scenes where you will see Seagal like smile and laugh. Like he's just genuinely having a good time. And it really adds to the enjoyment of this performance. And I also love how this performance is honestly a little more nuanced than it gets credit for, because you have him, being cold and being very stoic, after the death of his partner, and he's very focused. But then you have moments where he's loosening up, and then you have moments where, he's messing with the bad guys and toying with them. And then you have moments like when he's being genuinely emotional, when he's talking about his past and how far he's going to try to get to Richie, and he's arresting people that were like father figures to him, and how that really eats away at him. And it really showcases Seagal's range in a way that I don't really feel a lot of other films did. So, yeah, I think this is not only one of my favorite Seagal performances, I think it's genuinely his best performance as an actor, because of scenes like the one when he's talking with his ex Vicky. He was talking with her, and he's discussing um his past, and how Mr. Badano was like a father figure to him. And he's talking about these moments when he was a kid. And it's a genuinely well acted monologue by Seagal. So Seagal's got the action stuff down, you know, has the one liners, has all of the stuff that you're looking for out of an action film and an action lead. But then he also has those other moments that are more emotional and have more layers to them. So yeah, in my opinion, it's a genuinely great performance by Seagal, despite at points kind of a questionable Brooklyn accent. William Forsythe is equally as fantastic, though, as Seagal's foe in this, and Richie Madano. Just intimidating, crazy, in such a believable fashion. The kind of guy you just don't really want to be around because you're afraid of what he's going to do. Like the kind of guy that's going to put your head on a swivel every time that you're sharing the same space with him. And despite that, though, Forsythe is having such a blast playing this scumbag that you enjoy his presence, even though you're genuinely intimidated by him. The rest of the cast is good too. Jerry Orbach is Captain Donziger, Joe Champa as Vicky, um, Shireen Mitchell as Lori, Lupo, Gina Gershon as Patty Madano, Richie's sister, Robert Lasardo is Bochi, Kent McCord is Jack, Thomas F. Duffy is Detective O'Kelly, um, Dominic Chianese, Junior Soprano himself as Mr. Badano. You also have some other fun, interesting character actors who have little roles in this. Juliana Marguiles as Rika, Richie's current girlfriend, who he decides to hide out uh, at her place, away from Gino and then the cops. John Leguizamo is a guy in an alley. I don't think he has any lines, but it was cool to see John Leguizamo. I was like, oh, that's John Leguizamo. Kane Hodder, who plays a gang member who gets shot in the chest by Gino in the film's climax. Shannon Weary and Julie Strain in the same movie. Like two unbelievably smoking hot babes, and Shannon Weary and Julie Strain in the same film. Like that is crazy. So, yeah, good cast. And the cinematography by Rick Wade, I also like. I think he did a wonderful job. shooting the film, and the editing by Don Brochu, Robert A. Ferretti, and Michael Elliott. Despite the fact that a good chunk of the movie was cut out, I think the editing was still pretty firm, pretty solid, pretty fine overall. I don't think the editing was something that was necessarily that big of a problem or a detriment to the film, despite a lot of last minute editing going on by Michael Elliott. And the music by David Michael Frank is fantastic. It's definitely one of his better scores. I really like his score for this, especially the updated take on like a Godfather theme, like a mafia theme that he did for this movie. I really like that. It's like the Godfather theme, but like remixed with synthesizers and a little bit more of like a rock infused edge. And I really, really like that bit of the score by David Michael Frank. So yeah, I mean, I really don't have any significant problems whatsoever with Out for Justice. I think as it is, it's great. And I agree. I agree with Mick Martin. Pure adrenaline pumping, jaw dropping thrills. Like I genuinely feel that this movie is all of those things, and it does it without a single explosion. That's what makes it even more impressive. Is that it didn't need explosions to provide those thrills. It just needed a simple plot, a believable psycho who's on the loose, and a cop who is willing to do whatever it takes to take this guy out. And just tons of bone breaking fight scenes, an exciting car chase or two, and shotgun fun. Say whatever you want to say about Steven Seagal, but in his prime, he was right up there with Schwarzenegger and Stallone and Van Damme and any other action star in terms of providing quality entertainment and really enjoyable action films. And Out for Justice is one of his most enjoyable and entertaining action films of his filmography. And it still holds up very well to this day. But anyway, thanks for watching my review of Out for Justice. And until next time, I'll see you later. See ya.